Welcome to The Drummer and the Great Mountain, a podcast where we share effective tips and practices for working with adult ADD, ADHD in a natural, effective way without the use of medications. Each episode, join me, your host, Bahman Sarram, along with the author of The Drummer and the Great Mountain, Michael Joseph Ferguson. Join Michael and myself in an interactive discussion of sharing our stories as we journey together in transforming what can be the gift of being what we call hunter types. This podcast is intended to be your audio companion to the book written by Michael, who joins me each episode where we both will strive to foster dialogue, give you our personal insights, and share both of our experiences on this similar path that we are all on. Our intention and hope is that along with the book, this podcast gives you an additional perspective as you listen to us delve deeper into each chapter of the book to give you even more tools to go along with what it is that you are reading. Visit us at drummerandthegreatmountain.com to purchase the book and look for more tools, tips, and updates, as well as giving us feedback on this podcast. Join our growing global community of creative types, entrepreneurs, and out-of-the-box thinkers on our shared journey. Welcome to The Drummer and the Great Mountain podcast. Welcome, friends in the hunter type community, to the Drummer and the Great Mountain podcast. Although this is not your normal podcast, this is our mini-sode, something we decided to just do at the last minute here before we take off for 2015. We thought it would be good to just leave you with really an end of the year, what we're grateful for in our own lives as a part of this project, as a part of this podcast, as a part of this book that we're all a part of, and just some tips for the new year. And so this is going to be short and sweet. And so I'll start off. And for those of you that may be just joining us, we are part of The Drummer and the Great Mountain, a guidebook to transforming adult ADD, ADHD. You can find us at drummerandthegreatmountain.com. This is the audio podcast with the author Michael Joseph Ferguson and myself, your host, your humble host, Bahman Sarram, here to take you through an audio guide through the journey of being a hunter type. So let's get right to it. For me, I am beyond grateful for having met Michael. For those of you that may have listened before to our story of our friendship, we met at a artist gathering about, I'm going to guess now at least 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. And I think from the day we met, as the story goes, and this is not hyperbole, this is true, we just connected. We connected from day one, and I'll never forget, because that was the day Michael told me about this project he's working on. And that project is what you have been listening to and what you've been reading to, which is The Drummer and the Great Mountain. So if I reflect on it that way, Michael, absolutely grateful for you and for our friendship and for finding a friend like you in the world to have so many things in common with, including this journey we're on. So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for who you are, for what you've contributed to my life as a friend, and being in this project with you. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, grateful for my family, my amazing, amazing wife, patient as the saint of saints, and that's not hyperbole either. That's true. She has been with this journey since the day she met me, and it's all the package of who we are and who what we bring to the table. And especially grateful to her and giving birth to the other angel in my life, which is our little boy, who I hope through journeys like this, like being part of this project, will be better for it. And he will. He already is. Will be better for it in his life, because he is definitely an artist at heart. There's no doubt about it. Already at 2 years old, I can see that in him. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you and the community. without exaggeration. When we started this project, there was no expectation. It's one thing Michael and I promised each other. No expectation at all from what this podcast will be, what it will grow into. There was nothing. We just were like, we need to do this to give back. It's such a great book. I asked Michael how I could help, and this is how I could help, was using my broadcast abilities to put together a podcast for him. And so how can I not be grateful to see what's happened in the last year? I'm grateful for your stories. I'm grateful for those of you that have challenged yourself to transform yourself. Again, keeping in mind there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the way we're wired. And for those of you who've jumped on this journey with us and have emailed Michael and Facebooked Michael over and over, I've said it every podcast throughout the year, and I'll continue to say it. Every time Michael forwards me an email from somebody taking the personal information out of it, I get inspired. It tells me what I need to do in preparing for the next episode. It also inspires me in my personal life because I'm on this journey with you. And so keeping it short and sweet, those are the things I'm grateful for. And I'll turn it over to Michael to share his side of the story. How you doing, my friend?
Ah, very good. Very much appreciated hearing that. That's yeah, right, and right back at you. This has been uh what a year. It's been an incredible year, and like you said, we didn't know going into this what to expect. There was some requests that I had gotten from people sharing that they thought that the audio support for the book material would be of use, and I completely agreed. And the first person that popped to mind was you to bring in, and man, that just worked out in spades. Yeah, it's you. You're so solid on the mic, and it's just made this process of sharing the information so much easier. Just from your enthusiasm and your clarity and your transparency, and just the skill set of putting. I mean, you do all just. Bahman does all the work and doing the audio production, puts his music on, and just makes it happen every week. And it so smoothly flows. And so grateful for that, and so grateful for sharing this podcast with you. And I'm really pleased to hear that it's had a beneficial effect for you and your family. And like you said, I'm super grateful for the community that we are. There's people that share the perspective that we have, which is that ADD is not a disorder. It is a neurological type, that it's 10 to 15% of the population, and it has with it both all the wonderful gifts and the challenges that come with it. And just seeing it as a full spectrum experience, I find, and it sounds like many of you found, that it's a better way to go. It's a more accurate perception of it. So I'm absolutely grateful for all the you who have bought the book and shared your experiences and made suggestions, and it's really grown. And I, like Bahman has said, I had no major expectations even in writing the book, just knowing that this perception wasn't really out there, not in this particular way, not put together, I think, in the way that I think would have most resonated with me when I was maybe 20 or 21. That was sort of the goal, kind of writing this to my 20 or 21-year-old, and maybe offer some support to make things a little bit easier moving forward. And of course, the audience is of all ages, and male, female. And again, to the female members of the audience, we are both definitely coming from a masculine perspective. Thanks for hanging with us. We've heard your notes about getting more female voices coming out of the podcast in the new year. So be patient. It's in the works. And thank you all for those who came to the talks that I gave this past year, including, I definitely have an audience of people that have come to gave talks to organizations. So thank you all for your invites, and lots more to come in the new year. It's going to be it just seems to be growing. I mean, I'm kind of floored at like the level of engagement now with the book and people buying the book. It's just exponentially growing. So it's really exciting, and that gives us a lot of juice going into the new year.
Speaking of going into the new year, what would you like to leave people with? We've had our holiday podcast, but in this short mini-sode, what you said you wanted to share a quick tip as leaving off in this final episode. What is it that you wanted to leave people with?
Yeah, so this is an exercise. So leaving you with an exercise going into the new year. It is in the book. Actually, I was looking and I couldn't find the page, but I know it's in there because I use this with every client that I have. I encourage them to do this. And we may have mentioned this in the life visioning chapter, but you can do this 1,000 times a year, and it always generates interesting and supportive results. So here's the exercise. So sit down at a computer or with a piece of paper, and the question is, if you had all the money in the world and no responsibilities, what would you do? That's the question. I'll repeat it again. If you had all the money in the world and no responsibilities, what would you do? And just don't start writing, don't edit, and just let yourself flow with that and see what starts to come up and keep going through it. So you'll get like the first level of probably like travel and who knows what pops up in that first layer. But if you keep going, you'll start to get some really interesting insights. And so I would encourage you to use this tool and exercise to see what needs are unmet. Like, start to see really quickly, like your subconscious will tell you, here are things that I really need right now. And start to just get clear, like, okay, and you might have the huge, massive goals of like going to Europe, which is great, whatever those are, get those down. And then within those, you can start to see, well, what needs are met there. Is there a need for perspective or travel or connection or learning? And so the next step underneath that, if you in your life right now are not doing work that's fulfilling, or if you feel like you're not maximizing your potential, then as you go through this process, start to see and get in touch with what comes up in terms of what your talents can do in service to others or in service to the planet. Like, that's, everyone has it. You'll find it under, maybe it's like take an acting class, or maybe it's practice, like learn a new instrument, or whatever it is. Like, find that piece that is your connection with other people, and start to move in that direction. Start to make some notes on that, and start to move in that direction for the new year. Take that list and start to just, have, even if you just sit down and do it and then just let it sit for a while and then come back to it, and we'll revisit this in the next podcast as we start moving into the new year and starting setting intentions and getting clarity on goals for the new year.
Beautiful. I mean, there it is. There's our end to 2015 for you in the listening and reading audience. Perfect exercise. Let's say it again, Michael. If you had all the money in the world
and no responsibilities, what would you do?
That's it. If you had all the money in the world, no responsibilities, what is it you would do? Why do we bring this to you now? Because it's a great way to end the year. And for a lot of you, holiday time, you have downtime. You're off from work. Maybe you're on vacation. On that vacation, in that downtime, just vision it and go with it and see where it brings you into 2016. And that's it for us. We promised we'd keep it short. Being hunter types, we could probably go for another hour, but we won't.
That's right.
Michael, thank you for a wonderful 2015. Looking forward to webinars coming up, the special guest speakers we've talked about, giving different perspectives on the different types of hunter types as far as gender. Looking forward to all, and how else can I wrap it up but to say thank you, my friend, and looking forward to the new year.
Yeah, you as well, my brother.
drummerandthegreatmountain.com is where you can find us if you're just joining us recently towards the end of the year. You have your exercise to end the year. You have all the other podcasts online to listen to and catch up. Maybe you want to use the holidays to catch up a little bit, because we're going to start really taking off in the new year now that we're not going to be covering chapters, and we're just going to get into it with guests and interviews and getting deeper into different subjects. Thank you once again to the community. Have a wonderful, blessed holiday. remember out there from our Navigating the Holidays podcast, keep grounded, up your meditations so that you can stay grounded, so that you're allowed to go off the rails a little bit with eating and exercise, but not too much so you don't have too much to make up for in 2016. Transparency being transparency. That's one of my goals is to up the meditation so I stay grounded. As I already know, I have a lot of stressors coming in the next 48 hours as you listen to this. So believe me, I know what some of you are about to go through. That's it. I'll stop blabbering. Thank you so much to everybody. We'll see you in 2016. And always, as we say on the Drummer in the Great Mountain podcast, please take care of yourselves and your health. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in. This podcast is intended solely for the purpose of personal growth and not as a replacement for professional psychological support. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests of this show are not meant to be taken as medical advice. It is very important to seek the help of a qualified medical practitioner when making any shifts to psychiatric medication you may be taking, or if you are experiencing extreme psychological distress.